Hello everyone, my name is John-Michael Bushman and welcome back to Hearthstone, and we are playing a completely different class this time around. Well, not exactly completely different, but different from what I would usually play. And well, let's just say I think I may have found the secret sauce to climbing the ranked ladder here on Hearthstone, and it's just be aggressive. Yeah, it's just like the cheer. Be aggressive, be aggressive. Being an aggro deck in the wild ladder is a surprise. Gives you a surprising amount of success. And one thing that I've actually been doing, well, I quote unquote cheese my rank up match by playing this specific deck in particular, or any aggro deck for that matter, if it's you playing this game. And any aggro deck is going to work, especially if it's competitively viable, and this is one of them. Although, granted, this is one of the older ones. The last piece of support that it got was from where this guy came from, Mimiron, the Titans set. And if it flips over that, there we go. The Titan set is full of like really cool cards, and I have opened like a lot of packs out of Titans, and I don't know why, but I have like a strange affinity for that set. I don't know, because it's just full of big splashy cards, and it's probably why I like the set so much. So there is that, and yeah, the main thing that this deck does, just hit face. There's literally nothing else you're going to do. You're literally going to just ignore the board, and being an aggro deck here in Hearthstone, you don't solve solutions. You create problems, and that is the only thing that this deck is good at, and unfortunately, it is inflexible at doing pretty much anything else. So, to go over the card by card of what this deck does, apart from hitting face, there is some little nuance in this deck, especially when it comes to the very small spell package. There have been, I have done my research, and good God, I had to dig deep for this one. Because mechs, while they still have a presence here and there, but unfortunately, the most recent deck list is just before Great Dark Beyond released, and they haven't these robots haven't been exactly well oiled in the background since then. So there is that. There have been builds that incorporate like lots of other types of robots, some tech cards here and there. One card that I do see get included in certain builds, but some of them don't, is this guy in particular, the Lab Constructor. It's a 5 mana card, and that's honestly the one thing that kills my interest in this card more than anything else, because it's 5 cost, and granted, forge it to gain magnetic, so it's basically a 7 mana card, and for an aggro deck like this one, having 7 mana is sometimes a little too slow, although it does make up for it by having this insane ability of creating a copy of whoever you magnetize this to. And it is the main mechanic, by the way, of this deck, in case you didn't notice. You basically just take robots and put them on the left side of that robot, and then they will fuse together and form one big unit. The amalgams are just additional copies of the other robots here, and adaptive amalgam in particular, while we're going through the order of cards here, is basically a nearly indestructible and hyper annoying minion in this deck that will keep resurrecting itself, assuming of course you draw into it, and it keeps any and all enchantments that you put onto it. So any of the robots that get magnetized onto this thing, he will keep the buffs, and it can get scary. I have seen the adaptive amalgam keep like 7 different effects on it. Seeing this guy plop down on the ground and have Wind Fury, Taunt, and Divine Shield all running all at the same time, and it being a 2020, it's very few people last very long against a combination like that. But to go over what preparation does, its primary purpose in the deck is basically to cheat out either from the scrap heap or pit stop, the only 2 other spells in this deck. And the mulligan decisions here are actually surprisingly full of thought, quote unquote, because if you open with preparation and or scrap heap and or pit stop, that's honestly a really good hand. And if you're going second, having a coin as well, if you open with either scrap heap or pit stop, that's also really good. That will allow you to turbo out any of these two cost cards immediately. And then if you happen to draw into preparation, then you can save the coin for later. But otherwise, yeah, do not hard cast these two spells like at all. If you have a way to cheat it out, then that's the only time you will have to do so, because you only really need to use your mana in order to get all of these robots out. So, and moving on to the next card, like I said, Adaptive Amalgam. It's a very annoying threat, especially if you manage to stack like enough buffs onto this thing, and it's going to be very hard to kill from there. And then you have Click Clocker here. While I go back through the pages, you know what? We'll just go to the rogue page, and just so we can see those animations. There we go. Click Locker, I didn't honestly believe in this at first, but a 1-mana 1/1 that comes down with Divine Shield means that your opponent will have to use two things in order to kill this guy. Although granted, of course, if your opponent is board centric, then they'll just, you know, use 2 minions to kill this thing. But that is 2 minions going at this minion rather than at your face, thus preserving your life total. And by that point, this thing would have already done its job. And it also doesn't help that it buffs a random mech in your hand +1/+1. So there is that. And he is I highly underestimated this guy at first, but the +1/+1 does matter, especially in the mid game. Drone Deconstructor is our next card, and this guy has been a staple in mech decks like ever since it was introduced into the game. It basically provides a magnetic spark bot that also comes from the scrap heap, which gives a random assortment of buffs that are not exactly seen like at first blush, but yeah. What you're usually going after is, of course, Wind Fury, which allows your minion to attack twice. The other really good ones here are Taunt, Elusive, hell, even Stealth at that. There's also like stuff like Reborn, Poisonous, Lifesteal, Divine Shield. Stealth only comes from the Spider here, but we'll get to that when we get to that. And then coming up next, we have Frequency Oscillator, another card that has been a staple in mech decks ever since, because it allows you to basically reduce the cost of your 1-drops to 0, or reduce a lot of your more expensive stuff to be much cheaper. So there is that. And having 2 attack is also significant because it can trade up to more expensive minions or minions that have low defense. So you can use him at that point. And more often than not, if these two guys, the Deconstructor and the Oscillator, end up in your opening hand, you would usually begin with the Oscillator and then go into the Deconstructor next. And then the only draw spell in this deck is, of course, Gear Shift. If you don't need the cards in hand, although you can consider running instead stuff like there's also a card. Granted, it's not a mech, but Voracious Reader, you can consider this, but it's not a mech. It's just a way for you to refuel. And there's also a card, I believe he's called Jeeves. I think it's a 4-drop. Yeah, here it is. But it affects both players, so I think you'd rather have Voracious Reader instead. But the downside with Voracious Reader, of course, is it's a 3-drop, I believe. Yeah, it's a 3-drop, so it might already be too late at that point, and I wouldn't exactly want you to have that. Gear Shift is honestly our next best bet, and the shuffle could matter, and it has saved me on certain occasions. And one thing that I've probably already said multiple times, over and over, you can play Gear Shift even if it's the only card in your hand. You even get an achievement for it where you play Gear Shift and you have no other cards in hand. The achievement is called Maximum Overdrive, and it's a really, really funny thing to see. Amalgam of the Deep also functions as a draw spell, well, quote-unquote draw spell. It's a 2-mana draw one. It allows you to discover a minion of the same type. Do be careful with who you target for this, because if you target guys like Clicklocker or Coppertail Snoop or the Spider, if you do happen to play this as a minion rather than as a magnetized minion, you have a chance to search a beast instead, because those guys are mech beasts, not just mechs. So do be careful with that. And he's also a decent attacker, has a decent booty as well, so it can survive a certain number of attacks before, of course, it dies. But he's usually here as a tutor effect. And this deck is relatively cheap. The only legendaries you really need, and they are sadly non-negotiable, would be Mimiron and Ini Stormcoil. But we'll get to them when we get there. Moving next to from the scrap heap, it gets you 3 magnetic spark bots. The spark bots are from the drone deconstructor, so They are random, and you can get duplicates of the same thing. And one time I got triplicates, so there is that. It can happen. The odds are always stacked against you, especially in a game like this. Inventomatic is also a staple in mech decks, especially if you have a heavy magnetic theme, which is like literally 90% of this deck. You can even use him. It can even use itself as a way to magnetize other stuff, because it basically doubles the buffs that the scrap bots get. The what are they called? Scrap bots? Yeah, spark bots, not scrap bots. But you get the point. He is he's basically a muscle threat, because he basically gives a +1 to any of the magnetic shtick that you do around these parts. So if he dies, then at least that's a removal spell going to it rather than whatever robot you've built up at that point. Pit stop is a tutor effect. Do keep in mind that discover is not the same as drawing a card from the deck. Discover basically creates a copy of the card. This is basically your third copy of anything that is in the deck. So do keep that in mind as you play this deck. And having a +2/+1 also helps. Bronze Gatekeeper, I mean, it's a taunt minion. What more can I say? It helps you block, and sometimes when you actually do the magnetic thing, it also functions as a pseudo heal of sorts, because it also adds the stats of the magnetized minion onto the other one. So do keep that in mind. And then of course Coppertail Snoop. I used to run this in the Coin Rogue deck that I now run in Wilds. Now he's here in the mech deck. He creates coins, and it's basically a way to turbo out everything else that you can do. And yeah, he is very, very useful. Before we move on to the legendaries, we'll first discuss the last two non-legendaries here. We have Spider. It gives a decent number of stats, but what you would usually use this guy for is if you didn't manage to kill your opponent at that point, you can actually use the spider here to give your minion, most especially the minion that you have been buffing up with all of the other magnetized stuff that you have, and then you give him stealth for 1 turn, and that is usually more than enough time bought so that you can swing in for the kill. And then the last one is honestly the most contentious slot, because this is where either the lab reconstructor goes, or another minion that is usually here is oh god, what was its name? It was a 4 cost. We'll get there when we get there. Hold on, hold on. I will get there. I will get there. It is a 4 cost mech, and there it is. A replicating menace that is usually here in the last slot. Thus leaving any Stormcall the only 4 cost in the deck. But I still like War Gear simply because it gives the biggest amount of stats for the cost, and I have won games simply because I had a War Gear, and everyone else is just supporting it. So never cast this as a creature because you're only really using this for the magnetic buff. And finally, the two legendaries in this deck. First off, we have Mimiron, of course. You can never really leave home with this guy. Oh god, I accidentally got him out. Oh god. Let me get back to him. 1 second. There we go. Alright. So Mimiron and his fantastic gadgets here. And I'm going to cough a little, so excuse me for a minute. Okay, I'm back. And to think that I actually considered cutting him at first, because I have had games where he doesn't pull his weight, but just playing a mech, and playing a mech is different from summoning a mech, because it even counts as you magnetizing it, and he gives you his fantastic gadgets if you just do the magnetized stuff. So a lot of these things basically give you reach that is otherwise unattainable for this deck in particular. So you have the blades, which is basically a lightning bolt by Magic the Gathering standards. This also grants stealth. The rewinder gets taunt minions out of the way, especially if they don't have elusive. You have coolant, which gives you a discount. Then Mimiron's horn, which gives taunt, which is, I mean, should be very plentiful in this deck in particular. Then Mimiron switch, which swaps the health of 2 minions that you could potentially have. And I'm just noticing now that in the art, it's featuring the I think these are 2 druid minions, I believe, or one of them is at least a druid minion, and then they're going to swap each other. I'm assuming the other one is a 1/1, or at least lower stated than the other one, so there is that. But yeah, You can even like put the magnetized minions onto Mimiron himself, and he becomes really, really huge, and can even swing for lethal if you even get to that point. Then finally, the last legendary in the deck, Ini Stormcoil. Her only role in the deck is to just create a copy of whatever you have in here. See, this is why um, some people would have the constructor in this deck, because it's basically a second copy of Ini Stormcoil, but Ini is honestly a lot more impactful because she gives Rush, Wind Fury, and Divine Shield. So it basically creates a copy of whatever minion you have been buffing up into a removal spell, and you can't exactly run this mech deck without these two legendaries in particular. Some builds even have Krabatoa and even Voltron Prime, but I honestly think those two are, well, for Krabator in particular, it's a flavor fail, because why would you have a crab in a deck that's full of robots? And then Voltron Prime, it does give you reach like Mimiron, but it may be a little too slow, especially at that point, at the casting cost that Voltron Prime is at. So Mimiron is honestly the better legendary for this deck, and of course Ini Stormcoil as well. So that is it for the deck tech for mechs here on Hearthstone. This is, by the way, an amalgamation of two builds in particular. I got a the idea of adding preparation and pit stop. I believe it was from Warshak. You can find his deck on heartpwn.com. His specific deck is there, and he runs a card called Mothership, which is a 6-cost card which summons other mechs. Yeah, this one in particular, it summons 2 mechs that cost 3 or less, so it's basically creating even more bodies on board and giving your opponent more problems to deal with. So there is that. But I'm not running it in this build in particular. I mean, I could craft it so that I can have, you know, something else to replace the war gear, but I believe all of these are more than enough for the purposes of basically my exact play style. So, without further ado, let's grind some gears.
Marin versus Leroy.
I'm honestly surprised that the
Jenkins.
there we go. That's exactly what I was expecting out of Leroy Jenkins right there. I am so sorry I talked over that one. The innkeeper didn't do it, but Leroy himself did it. That guy is an absolute legend. We do have an important decision to make here. We sadly did not end up with any magnetized minion at all. And we're facing off against Libram Paladin at that. So this could go very, very poorly for us here. So we're going to do that. We'll reduce this guy's cost to 0. Click lock her down, and who do you buff? You buff the Inventomatic. Alright. We're just going to pass back to our opponent here, and we'll see what happens here, and just play around. Yeah, has my ADHD, my undiagnosed ADHD. This thing here. I'm just realizing now that this actually has notes. Oh, that's actually fascinating. Alright, cool. So we're going to turbo out the Copper Snoop here, and we'll just tell our opponent, hey, here you go, here's a problem, solve it. There we go. Alright. Now, come my turn, I am not quite sure what we're gonna do, because we literally do not have any magnetized minions at all. It could definitely be a problem. Oh god. So he's going to trade up using the Libram of Wisdom here, and okay, let's see what my opponent can do here. Life-saving aura. I don't even have that. And fun fact, I gave in and decided, you know what? If I'm going to play an aggro deck, it has to be something that will be a lot better than this. And granted, mechs, I still see mechs every once in a while on the wild ladder, but Libram Paladin is honestly a lot more efficient at what they do. And I'd rather play this rather than, you know, these guys. I mean, granted, mechs have their own bit of fun, but I think I'd rather play Libram Paladin at that point. So we're going to do this. We're actually going to bait out their removal by using Inventomatic here. And we're going to see how far we go. Once I have the dust to make Libram Paladin, I'm going to have... I'm hoping that I'm going to basically keep the combo decks in better check than, you know, they're very rampant right now from what I hear. And we're going to discover something with Poisonous and Rush. Huh, that is fascinating. Take double damage from spells, give a friendly mech +1/+1. I think I'd rather have that. Thank you very much. There we go. And then, while that's happening, we're not going to play the Amalgamate because again, we have no magnetized minions at all. So we're going to attack into that. Ouch, take our 4. I mean, we will take our 4 anyway, but I'll allow my opponent to attack into these two, if at all. So that he will... ooh, okay. He's still reducing the cost of his Librams. He is still not... he hasn't used the slicer, I believe, the star splicer, whichever that weapon is. So we're going to see what my opponent does here, if at all. Okay, yep, Libram of Fate, that is to be expected, and then suddenly he has a massive box on board. I am not confident about my odds at this point. I'm pretty sure I will die a very quick death very shortly, and not if we draw that. So there is that. So we'll immediately do that, and we'll see what we get. We got Taunt, Lifesteal, and Rush. That is actually really good. So we'll do this, we'll do this, and we'll do this. There we go, and then we will attack with Taunt Minion. I almost forgot that they have a Taunt Minion, but there we go. Then we just pass back to our opponent, and I still don't like my odds because they have a bunch of buffs in hand, so, and my only defender is down to 3 health. So I'll just see you guys either at the next interesting point if I somehow claw my way out of this, the victory screen if I somehow claw my way out of this, or just at the next game. So I'll see you guys there.
Mirren versus Valera.
You know, deck tech aside, I'm honestly hoping that my games with this recording are very short, because if there's one thing about aggro decks in particular, games are either really short or really long, simply because your opponent managed to grind it to a halt somehow, and by that point you're the one having problems, because you're the one who's supposed to be creating the problems, not the solutions. You're the aggro deck, you're the problem here. But my opening hand is good. We have From the Scrap Heap, and then we have an Adaptive Amalgam. Hopefully, my opponent will kill the Adaptive Amalgam, which means that will allow my Inventomatic to run rampant somewhat. But we're going to see what my opponent does here. They're still mulliganing, which I assume is not a good sign. That could potentially mean that they have a wombo combo tactic in mind, and they want to get it off as much as possible. So we're going to see here, or you know, they could just oh, okay, they did not mulligan anything at all, so they were literally just calculating everything. And my turn is just going to be very simple here. Just get the Adaptive Amalgam down, and we'll just pass back, and we'll just interact with everything that can be interacted with. Once that don't... Oh, okay, fine then. Okay, fine. We'll just get our boys and girls down, and we'll just swing in for our 1. And we'll get the waterfall here while my opponent thinks about their decisions. Let's see. Once the rainbow comes out, let's see when you know if you've done the right thing. Come on. No, I barely saw the rainbow. God damn it. Show me the rainbow. There we go. Show me the rainbow. Yeah, there we go. There's the rainbow. Then we'll light the fire here. There we go. Then we'll change the... I don't think there's anything you can click on in this area right here. So what my opponent thinks... Oh, my opponent's finally doing something. Glacial Shard, that is surprisingly fine. There are going to be bigger problems for you here, opponent. Why did you freeze me? There are way better targets, opponent. Oh, good. Dear God, opponent. There are way better targets. Come on. My guy. Now you're gonna let me run away with this, potentially. So we're going to see how far this goes. I mean, I have another Taunt minion in hand. I have a Lifesteal minion that is ready. I have a Rush minion. So we're going to see how far this goes. I'd rather put it on the Adaptive Amalgam than the Inventomatic, because once the Inventomatic dies, all of the enchantments just fall with it. So I'd rather have it on a body that just infinitely recurs itself. So there is that. And yes, opponent, I saw you hovering over all of my shit. Yes, I don't use my hero power. I just rely on my robots to do their thing. And if you saw the name of this deck and you immediately got why I named it as such, congratulations, you are a depressed 30-year-old like me. So my opponent is thinking about their decisions. We each draw one card. That is fine, question mark. I don't know what you're doing here. Mimiron is something. It will give me flexibility, but we sadly do not need that at this current juncture. So we're just going to do it like this, and then we'll also put lifesteal on top of it. There we go. So now my bear thing, my amalgam, is now 812. All we need now is Wind Fury, and we can definitely close this game out at that point. So my opponent is in a lot of trouble. I have no idea what their deck is, and that's the sad thing that I don't like about Hearthstone. You don't get to see your opponent's deck. Unlike in Master Duel, where after every match you literally have access to a wealth of information, like right then and there, rather than having to go to an external app in order to check whatever it is your opponent could potentially be doing. Here in Hearthstone, it's information for that is a lot harder. The person would have had to post their deck list somewhere, and if even at all. Because more often than not, they don't. Okay, making me even draw more cards. I don't know why you would do that. Unless you're Milrogue, question mark? You're making the aggro deck draw cards, opponent. I don't think that's a good idea. Okay then, making the aggro deck draw cards. Okay, I guess my opponent has a freaking Death Wish. So we're just going to do our thing here. We'll get Sparkbot here. Let's see if he gives us Wind Fury. He does indeed, and my opponent is now dead. Swing in for 14. We even get a coin. Do we have 10 cards in hand? No. Become immune this turn. Oh no, my opponent lives. Sure, that's fine. I guess we just get these guys out of the way now. So we'll do this. And then, again, because we don't need Mimiron at this point, we'll just use Preparation. Then we'll shuffle these two away, and we'll see what happens here. We'll get rid of probably the Glacial guy. Then we will get rid of this thing, because it's the one with the biggest butt. And then, because we have another coin, we'll do this, then we do this. We'll make our board even wider. There we go. And we'll pass to my opponent's turn. There we go. Now, what more do you have against me, opponent? You have an adaptive amalgam that is decked out to the wazoo, okay, gaining some armor. That is a small bit of protection, but I don't know how much else you're going to protect against this. Turn a friendly min to hand, sure, toss one this turn, okay. My opponent is playing Milrogue, which is a deck that I have not seen in a long ass while. Granted, Mill is like an unpopular archetype at all. So there's that. And okay, yeah. Bouncing him back to hand is fine because he loses the enchantments that way. I'd rather he would have died there, but I guess it's Rogue, so they don't exactly have too much in terms of the damage department there. But yeah, they weren't able to establish any blockers, and they were just gonna die. And I was like drawing pretty decently, and I have enough magnetized minions in hand in order to kill them at that point. So, with that victory in the books, let's move on to the next game.
Mirin versus Tyrande!
Alright, we are up against Malfurion's wife, so we're going to see how far we go here. This is one of those full mulligan hands, because none of these things do anything. I mean, granted, pit stop on turn 2 is something, but I'd rather use that with preparation. So what you're usually going to... Oh, wow, speaking of, we got preparation. So if we draw either into pit stop or from the scrap heap, we're going to be cooking really hard here. Frequency Oscillator is nice, so we're going to play that. Then reduce this cost to 0, so we can play it as well. And then that buffs the Warrior that we have in hand. Unfortunately, we don't have anything else. So this is what I was talking about. You have to mulligan into your 1-drops as aggressively as possible, so that you can set up your field as early as possible. This deck in particular is all about establishing a board as much as possible. and as early as possible at that. The thing with Libra and Paladin, you just need like one creature at a time, and they'll do fine without too much help. Granted, of course, getting the Librams going as well also helps. So there's that. So I don't think we need to use Gear Shift for now. My opponent hasn't exactly done anything, and we're going to see how far we go here. And we'll just turn off that candle. There we go. By the way, I just realized that as you play with this sarcophagus in particular, the code not only changes, but it also gets longer. And it only opens for a short period of time every once you do indeed find the code that opens this thing. So and once you do that, ooh, okay, my opponent just passes. That is fine. Deconstructor is nice. So that means we get something. We get taunt. I think I'd rather put it on the minion that has Divine Shield. So there's that. So we do that, and we should go one. Do I dare mulligan away the work here? I don't think so. Not yet, not yet. My opponent has literally not done anything too productive yet, so we're going to see. Okay, creation protocol. I have no idea what he is trying to do, unless it's also like the I believe there is oh my god, it is. We're playing the exact same strategy. He's also playing robots. I still don't get why Priest has access to robots, and hell, even for Rogue at that matter. And that's like my biggest gripe with this archetype in particular. Like, why do Rogues and Priests get the robots but not an Artificer? In fact, why is there not an Artificer class in this game yet, Blizzard? That is literally the only thing that will make me happier, is if we get a dedicated, like, technology-based class for this game, because it still irks me that Rogue, which is the combo-centric archetype, gets robots rather than sure, that dies, but I don't think you'll be living for much longer soon, because I have gained far too much advantage. Sure, that is fine. I think you're just dead here. Yeah, you will just be dead soon. So we do this, and then we do this. That will allow me to get from the scrap heap down. And yeah, I believe 9, 10, 11. Yeah, this exact lethal. Hell, we'd even a couple left over. So yeah, there we go. Good thing I did not mulligan away the war here. Let's move on to the next game.
Mirren versus Jaina.
We're up against a mage, so we're going to see. We're going first again. Good God, I haven't gone second in any of these games. I have a 1-drop in hand, but it's a 1-drop that does nothing on entry, so we're going to mulligan it away. We're going to find it later if we need to. And okay, that's a pretty. Oh God, if we don't have anything that will like bridge whatever is here, and oh, we haven't emoted this entire time, so we're going to do that. And yeah, we'll start with the click locker, and we'll do that, and then we'll squelch our opponent because they could be cursing us behind our backs here. So we're going to use forging here, babbling book, sure. The card that broke one competitive player's fighting spirit, from what I hear, and we'll just swing for our 2 points of damage and pass to our opponent. We're not going to be doing too much until it comes back around to probably turn 5. Once we do indeed get to that, we might have to use gear shift if nothing else like improves with this exact situation. So we're going to see. All right, cool. Babbling book into that, popping the divine shield bubble. That is not exactly what I'm looking for, so we're just going to use this to protect our investment, so to speak. So we swing, and then we're going to see what my opponent has for me here. I mean, it has stealth, so he can't attack into it, nor can it be targeted for anything. Yeah, can't be attacked or targeted. This is why I prefer stealth over the elusive keyword, because it can't be touched like at all. Elusive only can't be targeted. So it's yeah, sure, swinging for it too. Far more damage will be coming your way soon, opponent. We're going to see what we draw. Another gear shift. I am already very worried for my prospects here. So We will actually, now that I think about it, we'll just attach it. We'll just magnetize it here, and then we will use this gear shift because we might need the preparation here. Right? Let's see what happens. And what do we draw? Another war gear, a prize amalgam, and a pit stop. So that is something. We will use the preparation here for the pit stop, and we will get, I believe. Do we get a bigger butt or do we get more attack? I guess we need a bigger butt here because we are very far from killing our opponent here. And the +6. Oh, cool. So the butt will be 16 at that point. That is actually really, really Gucci. And I highly doubt Mage has anything that will kill something that has more than like 5 power, so there is that. Only a handful of classes can deal with this, although granted, polymorph is a spell that mages often use, and that's their way of dealing with unkillable bullshit like what I'm doing here. And they have an 11-12 all of a sudden. Where did they get that? Blessing of Authority. Give him minion +8/+8. It can't attack heroes this turn. Ooh, that is spicy. But I'm going to try and find a solution to that by doing this. What do we have here? If it survives, get a random bonus effect. You're going to choose one. Can't be played this turn. Ooh. Oh dear. Draw a minion, give it +3/+3. Would I rather Coil Fan Constrictor or the Claw Machine? I think I'd rather the Claw Machine. It's going to come down next turn no matter what anyway, so we're just going to swing for our 12 and be happy with it. It's going to take him a lot to attack into this anyway, but granted, and I will still have like 5 health at that point. You see, this is exactly what I was worried about. They have polymorph effects. So I will be taking a crap ton of damage here. There's only like 12, so it's not as scary as I would have. It's not as scary as I would have imagined, but okay, yeah, sure. 6 damage from Starfire. They draw a card as well. Do they have a one? Oh God. They got rid of Thanos. Oh god, that was hilarious. But yeah, I don't think I'll be able to claw my way out of this one, unfortunately. Let's move on to the next game.
Meren versus Mayen.
I have been facing a lot of rogues in this recording. Good god. This is a banger. Oh, holy fucking shit! This is a banger opening hand. All right. I will be swimming in Advantage City with this one. Alright, we're going to see how busted we can make this turn, especially once we get our draw. So we will do this, and, oh hey, greetings, how do you do? You just pass back to us. Hold on. I'll get rid of this guy's teeth. Let's see if we get golden teeth in return. No, we don't yet. So we're going to use frequency oscillator first, and then going to click locker for 0. Then we don't buff any guys in hand. I should have went started with pit stop first, but I think going with from the scrap heap is a lot better. Lifesteal, taunt, and reborn. I think I'll go with the reborn here, so that we're just efficient with our mana here. And yeah, there you go, opponent. You have 2 problems, the left and the right. What do you do about that with your 2 mana? You have taunt, so you can't exactly use your dagger master here to. Oh wow, you will pop the bubble and take 2 damage because of it. Good god, opponent. That is very, very brave of you. All right, cool. Let's see what else happens here. So no, I don't plan on attacking with that. No. We're just going to buff up this bad boy right here. There we go. All right. Then we'll swing in for 6, and let's see if my opponent has any answers to that. We did draw into Amalgam of the Deep, so we'll target the Oscillator so that we only get mechs. Oh, he's playing Draenei. I don't know why you would do that, but okay then, opponent. You do you. Opponent, you do you. So we do that, so that reduces this cost to 1. We will target the guy who just came down. And who do we get? We get Force Tank Max! We do that. We could reduce the cost of cards in hand by 1, but I get Inventomatic is like Inventomatic. There's literally like no other option at that point. So we just swing in again for our 6 and pass back to our opponent. We have a couple of bodies on board, and my opponent has a lot of problems. So let's see how far they go here. Okay, my opponent is playing Draenei for some weird reason. Okay, sure, poisonous, but my guy has Reborn, so there's that. Um, so we'll need to use our pit stop next turn, and they took their 2 damage there. Sure, that is fine. I'd rather it be that rather than my face. So there is that. We are dry on cards, so there is that. Another Amalgam of the Deep. So that is something that we can use, but we're going to search in our deck first. Drone Deconstructor is nice, so we'll get that. And then that gets a buff, so we go to Deconstructor here. What do we get? We get a Reborn again. Good God. So we'll use it here. Then we'll swing in for our 4 points of damage now. Alright, that is 6. But we do have like an increased number of bodies on board, so, or rather a constant number of bodies on board. So my opponent could eventually just run out of gas soon here, but who's to say? So we're going to find out, and then knocking this guy's teeth out. So I don't know how I did it, but somehow eventually ended up with golden teeth. I don't know how that happened. So there's that. Opponent is dealing with my board here. Well, I'm not even paying attention. I don't really care about too much about what's happening because interaction only ever really happens if you have secrets, and they're not exactly common around these parts. One thing that I like about the amalgams is that they also help you get the achievements for tribal specific stuff, so that is also really nice. Ooh, do we do that or do the other one? Unfortunately, yeah, that is the only way. And the Divine Shield also protects against poisonous. So, opponent, do you have anything else? I mean, if you don't have anything else, I would gladly accept that. There we go. Right, sacrificing that so you can use poisonous on the thing. That is completely fine by me. And Saturday Night Chain Gang. Oh dear God, if you have Velen here, I will concede on the freaking spot. Because there's a bug that involves Velen right now, and it unfortunately creates this like pseudo infinite loop of having a Saturday Night Chain Gang, using the Saturday Night Chain Gang's effect to summon Velen out. It's not supposed to it's not supposed to work that way, but it is working as quote unquote intended by Blizzard's admission. So they're doing something right, but it's not exactly how it should happen, if that even makes sense. So we're going to see here. We've pretty much run out of gas. I have no idea if my prospects for this game are going to be any better. So I'll just see you guys either at the next interesting part or at the next duel, or you know what, in fact, wait, let me check my recording. Oh dear God, we're actually going to cut it here because I've run out of gas. Pretty much. That was a pretty decent showing by the robots. There will be more. Why would you do that? Now I have gas. Well, granted, of course, my top decks are going to be pretty bad, provided I don't draw anything. So there is that. Yeah, freezing me here is also pretty nice because I won't have a way to swing. I mean, granted, I don't have lethal yet, but there is that. So like I was saying, we're gonna cut it here because again, I'm not too confident about my prospects here. I could just potentially lose like relatively soon. Yeah, any Stormcold is not exactly what I'm looking for. We'll just equip a dagger and I'll be done with it. I mean, if I win, I win. If I lose, I mean, that's also to be expected. This is Hearthstone anyway. So, that will be it for this recording, this video. If you guys like what you saw, hit like, comment, subscribe, and share this among your friends. And until next time, toodles!